Like me, like a lot of people, you've probably noticed that just getting the right notes happening on your guitar is not quite enough. There's always some more physical aspect to playing, some kind of thing you do with your hands that helps to make things sound more real and more authentic and more expressive. In today's lesson, I'm going to show you 3 of those physical things you can do that have a lot to do with getting that more kind of down and dirty Delta blues sound when you're playing blues in E. Specifically, we're going to look at upward brushes with the finger and snaps you can do with the thumb, and then a sort of backwards rake sound that also is really effective. Now, if you are just getting off the ground with fingerstyle blues or with playing blues in E in particular, I want to tell you about a new course that is available inside my membership, the Fingerstyle 5. It's called the 6-Week Start, and it's a way to get started from scratch with steady bass blues in E. You'll learn how to get the steady bass going, what to do on the 1, 4, and 5 chord, some of the chord shapes you should know up the neck, some classic licks and turnarounds, and how to put that all together to start playing your first chorus of blues in E. And along the way, you'll get an introduction to a lot of the important concepts when it comes to playing fingerstyle blues, and also some tips and tricks on how to get your right hand technique going and how to start finding your way around on the fingerboard. To check that out, go to fretboardconfidential.com, learn more, and sign up. But right now, let's get into these 3 moves for getting that Delta blues sound. Now for this lesson, I'm going to stick to a basic vamp in E. So I'm going to be mostly playing just a steady bass with the thumb on the low E string. I'm doing a little palm muting over here to get that thumpy sound. And then I'm starting off playing on the top 3 strings with an E7 chord that looks like this. I've got the 5th and the flat 7 and the root. So it's like if you took this E7 chord here with the 3rd on top and you left the high string open. So the first move is the triplet brush. So if you're playing the bass on beats 1, 2, 3, 4, and you imagine counting triplets like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then what you're going to do with your index finger is brush upwards on the top 3 strings. And one thing that can help is to let the tip of your ring finger that's holding down the 3rd string, let it touch the 4th string. So that way, when you brush past the 3rd string, as you often will, instead of hearing this note, you'll have that note damped. And so, in general, you want your thumb to be out in front of your finger. So rather than playing kind of like this, if you put your thumb, index, middle, and ring finger on the strings and then slide this way, so your thumb is kind of out here, then even when you go to do this brush, the thumb and the finger won't be banging into each other. And so the brush itself, you're going to get more of the high string, a little bit less of the 2nd string, and even less of the 3rd string. But if you have to kind of find that sweet spot where you're digging in enough that you're getting past the 1st string to the other 2 strings, but not digging in so hard that you get caught on the high string. So it is a brush. It is like a brushing action. And it doesn't have to be like super aggressive. You can do it lightly and with some subtlety. But it does take a little practice just to get that touch and get that feel. So you might want to start by just doing those brushes out of time, and then try brushing as triplets and counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then you want to give a little weight to the first of every set of 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then you can try pairing it with the thumb. And the thumb is going to pinch or match up with everything that those strong ones that you play on the downbeat. So you're going to have a pinch, thumb and index, going 1, and then the and is just going to be the finger. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so you can do it as slowly as you need to get everything in sync and get everything sounding good. And when you bring it up to speed, have that sound. Okay, so the second technique is the snap with the thumb. And just to physically make that sound, you're going to start with your thumb in the normal position and then rotate your hand this way about 90 degrees so that your thumb is facing straight out from the guitar. And by bracing this part of your hand on the face of the guitar, which is where it's going to end up when you move your hand like that, when you pull up with the thumb and let go, you're pulling the string away, directly away from the fretboard, and then it's snapping back against the frets. And that's what's making that sound. So your hand is moving and then you have to kind of come back into position. So first you might want to try just making that sound and then maybe making it part of a phrase. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. So you're playing the flat third and the bass, maybe bending a little bit, and then snapping the low E. And because your fingers are like way up here, right on the downbeat, so you can't really play on the downbeat of the next measure. So you're going to have to maybe have a little breathing room in the treble area. So you're going to have, maybe you leave off that first beat of the triplet. So 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. So you can practice the snap and then coming back to your triplets. And then you can add the thumb back in on beats 2, 3, and 4. And then you can leave off the last triplet, so 4 and use that space to play this flat third, and then go into the downbeat. So that to your stash. And the third move is called a backwards rake, where you're not brushing up on the top 3 strings, but dragging your finger back across the top 3 strings one by one. And so for that move, your index finger is still playing all 3 of those top 3 strings, but after playing, say, 1 and a 2 and a, you're then going to, after these opening notes, coming in from the 2nd fret on the 3rd string, sliding to the 4th fret with the index finger, and then middle finger gets this note, and then ring finger gets the high string. Then the index finger is going to land on the top string, rest on it, pick the note, and when you pick the note, you're going to land on the 2nd string, and then you're going to pick the 2nd string, land on the 3rd string, pick that note, land on the 4th string. Which classical guitar players call a rest stroke, but because you're dragging it and continuing to drag it, blues guitar players call it a rake, or lots of people probably have other names for it too, but that's what I always call it. So in context, and then you can take this lick down, so that then you would have this whole lick. So that drag gives you a third kind of expressive tool to use. So now, not only do we have these 3 new techniques, but we've got a few licks that include those moves, which is a good mnemonic device. You can just sit and vamp on the steady bass with these new moves, and that's a good way to kind of get them under your fingers, get them into your ears, and get used to using them. So. So there are 3 techniques you can use to start bringing more physicality and expressiveness into your blues playing. Now, if you're just getting started with fingerstyle blues, or you're just starting to wrap your hands around that steady bass technique and you would like to learn more about how to do that, check out my membership, the Fingerstyle 5, over at fretboardconfidential.com. Not only does the membership include a lot of great traditional blues repertoire, tab for all of the exercises and examples, and ways to start learning all the voicings and licks and turnarounds you need, but you can also take part in my new 6-week start class, which will take you through the blues from the very basics of getting your thumb going, learning some of those first essential licks, and figuring out how to put together your first 12-bar blues. So check that out at the link below. In the meantime, if you have a question or a comment about today's lesson, leave it for me down below. I would love to hear from you. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.